throw this into a food processor, because if you throw an onion into a food processor, it cuts it. Like right now, Mary Sue's cutting it one time, twice, and a third time, that's it. You throw it into a food processor and it grinds it up. All the liquid is released in the processor, and then it begins to oxidize immediately.
Which changes the flavor. This way you get a nice sweet bit of onion, crunchy onion.
And there's more sugar in an onion than almost any other vegetable. So if half the water has the sugar in it, gets left in the bowl, you don't get the sweetness of the onion. The second you start to cut the onion, it starts to oxidize. So by tomorrow, that same onion is going to be way stronger, not nearly as sweet and fresh.
Are you just making enough for yourself?
Yeah.
Where's mine?
All right, I'll make it. Give me that. All right, so then we're going to take a little bit of herbs. It can be, often it's cilantro. Sometimes we do it with oregano. We're going to do this one with mint and cilantro. So I'm taking mint. It's got a little bit wilted out here in the sun, but just taking mint off the stems here. And then I'm rolling that up, and then with that rocking motion Mary Sue was talking about, I'm just with my fingertips bent under, my third finger bent under, and the knuckle guiding the knife. I put my thumb behind, all my fingertips are bent under, so that if I cut like this, which sometimes people do, with their hands straight out and someone in the audience called you, you'd go right through your finger. This way, you can just use your knuckle to guide, and I can look up because my knuckle's guiding the knife, so I'm not going to cut my finger.
It really works well. And your thumb is just pushing the product through, and your knife is rocking, and it'll increase the speed that you can cook at greatly, and that's always worth it. So while she's chopping up the herbs, I'm going to cut, I cut off the chili pepper off of the jalapeno. And then I'm cutting it all in strips with that same rocking motion, using my knuckle to guide my knife blade. And then I'm going to make a nice little dice. And the thing about chilies is there are different levels of heat at different times of the year. It's very tough to tell. So usually what I do is I just ask Susan to take a bite.
Yeah, let's see.
And tell me how hot it is. That's a true blue partner, isn't it?
Those are quite spicy right now.
Are they really?
They really are, actually. They have a lot of heat right now. You want to taste one? They're quite spicy.
Oh my God.
They are. They're quite spicy. So then, with cilantro, we don't even bother taking it off the stem. Because we use the stems, like the thicker stems, these, we use these for our tomatillo salsa, for salsa that we're going to puree.
Well, this is definitely enough then for you.
Yeah, definitely. And then, but like here, instead of standing here and picking the leaves up, you know, the little stems up here are very delicate. So all I do is roll this like this, and then I'm just going to chop again. I just really fine with that rocking motion. I'm cutting these herbs. What I don't want to do is, and see, I'm going through all the stems, so I haven't picked all the stems, all the leaves off. Now, that's pretty fine. If I want to just turn it one time, I do the same thing with that same rocking motion. I take that batch and just do one more chop, because if I were to stand here and chop all over the board, sometimes if you do that at home, you'll notice that the board ends up all green, and it's just got all the flavor from the cilantro's on the board and not left in the cilantro. And I'm bruising it. So by 3 hours from now, it's turning black and it has lost a lot of its flavor because I left that on the board. So I take all that, add that in.
And we're going to put a little bit of the flavorings in this. They're going to be the tomato.
Here's tomato.
Chopped tomato.
No, here's a tomato. I'm going to take that, cut it. Now you can cut it, what you're trying to do is cut it where you can get most of the seeds out. So I cut it in half like this in my minty lime, taking it, getting the seeds out of there. And then I'm just going to, whenever we're dicing a tomato, we lay our hand flat like Mary Sue did with the onion. We don't want to ever cut towards our hand. So I don't want to stand there like this in case the knife goes through. So I'd rather lay my hand on the top flat, cut like that, away from my hand there, and then I've cut all these strips like that, push them to my left. Then I'm going to go again and I'm going to start to dice. So I take it, make it into strips, turn all those strips, and I make one cut and I make it into a dice.
So, and then you saw me, I rolled my lime around on the countertop to really break up all those juice rods inside. Unfortunately, that was a very dry lime. So even with the fork and all the rolling, I couldn't get all that much juice out of it, which is why a recipe should just be a guide. You know, if it says the juice of one lime in your recipe, but you open the lime and it's very dry, then you need 2. And you can always just, or if you don't like it too much lime, then you don't need to. Yes?
Why did you put that on the tomato?
Why did I?
Because she was trained in France.
Yeah. You wouldn't have to, have it. We save the inside of all that when we make salsa roja, when we make a red sauce at the restaurant, we take all that, put it in there and use it for that and then strain it. But if I was doing it at home, I'd just cut it up and put it in.
Or if you know, it's just a textural thing. Sometimes the seeds, we do save the seeds and put them in our salsas, so we're not throwing them away. So then we're going to season with a little bit of Worcestershire and a little bit of ketchup. It's one of the very few recipes we use ketchup with.
But it's very traditional in Mexico to have ketchup be one of the ingredients in a shrimp cocktail, in a ceviche like this. Although this ceviche actually came from one of the kids that worked for us, who was from Guatemala, and it was always this combination of Worcestershire, ketchup, and lime juice.
Yep.
We also, your recipe doesn't say this, but we put a little bit of olive oil in it.
Do we?
Maybe, don't we?
Yeah.
I thought so.
I think it needs more
I think it needs more juice.
more juice.
Maybe, yeah. You can see this isn't a very specific to the recipe.
Oh, look, and it turned out there is enough for me.
Yeah, I added more shrimp.
Oh, good. Does it have enough Worcestershire? This is the most important part now,
Yeah.
is the tasting. And you have to use a spoon. So the fork you wouldn't get enough of the juice. Enough Worcestershire? I go a little bit light with the Worcestershire at first because it can overpower everything. Oops.
You're not going to be eating it. We don't mind eating off the ground, but
And then we serve it in a cocktail glass, like a martini glass. And that, you know, mint and tomato goes very nicely together. And this is the season when you're probably put your tomato plants in. You can put a little pot of mint somewhere. We make a delicious tomato and mint.
also I want to just tell you, if you were doing it at home or you're doing it, you could do it any number of ways. You could take a tortilla chip, you know, and serve it. You could serve it as an appetizer. You could cut tortilla chips in rounds. We do little tostaditas. You could put it on a tray like this and pass it for past appetizers. Or another thing that we do sometimes at the restaurant is we rim our glass with lime. You can put it into chili pepper and it gets all red on the outside, or paprika, so it's all red on the top, so it looks really pretty if you were serving it. And then just put it in here. Sometimes we'll garnish with a lettuce, some really nice lettuce leaves, so you can eat it with the lettuce leaves or just with the tortillas itself.
Well, I guess you are going to
perfect
take it
amount
all
just for me.
yourself.
Yeah, perfect.
So that's your shrimp ceviche. You gonna make that at home?
Pretty easy, right? Yeah.
Did you use the same recipe for a fish ceviche or different?
You could. You absolutely could. Or you could, I like this one with shrimp the best. So we have some other recipes for fish ceviche that I like a little better.
But you totally could.
Yeah.
We do all types of ceviche, and really, there's no rule there. You could take, you know, let's say you took sea bass, marinate it in lime juice, pull it out and make the same mixture, and then just put it in there with the tomato, the ketchup, and that. Or you could take a firmer fish like mahi-mahi or something that'll hold up a little bit better and do it. But there's all sorts of, we do ceviches with coconut milk and lime and onions and cilantro and a little bit of fish stock. We do, you know, ceviches with oregano,